Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Isaac Christopher Lubogo, and today I want to talk about media law and policy in Uganda, a case study on social media. Because I realize the challenge that we have today, there's a lot of social media frenzy, and it's important to understand what we mean. First of all, media law and policy in Uganda is a pivotal role in terms of shaping the landscape of communication, journalism, and the use of social media within the country. So as Uganda is beginning in terms of digital presence, Uganda has seen a rapid evolution in terms of information dissemination, in terms of consumption and also regulation. So we're going to discuss some of the key policy frameworks that would govern social media, shedding light on the intricate relationship between freedom of expression, regulatory measures, and the ever-expanding digital space. We also give some kind of historical analysis. Those of you who want to get a lot more information about what I'm talking about, you could find our book, Media Law and Policy in Uganda by Isaac Christopher Lubogo. Find it on lubogo.org or suigenerislawup.com. We're going to talk about quite a number of substantive issues. So you will find in that book quite a lot of wonderful information that we've written in terms of rights of journalists, media rights, and the likes. But to begin with, we shall also borrow heavily from the Communications Act in terms of Uganda's core media regulations, in terms of regulations that establish the Uganda Communication Commission and regulatory, frameworks that are responsible for overseeing communication sectors, including telecommunication and broadcasting, and other things that would, help. But my emphasis today is going to be in terms of social media platforms operating within the country, and that's where we're going to have a lot of discussion today. But we'll also talk about the Computer Misuse Act in terms of references, which we heavily tap on and talk about in our book, by the way, in terms of conversions of cyber crimes, including unauthorized access to computer systems, hacking, and the distribution of what they call offensive content online in the context of social media, and how we can address these issues in terms of cyberbullying and abusive online behavior, because I see this happening everywhere. And then we will also talk about data protection and privacy regulations. As an increasing world that we're in today, Uganda has actually been working to develop what they call data protection and privacy regulations to safeguard individuals' personal information. And these regulations are crucial in terms of ensuring what they call privacy and also social security in terms of media users and their data. We'll also try to comprehend certain aspects in terms of the Media Council Act, which is basically designed to engage in traditional media, and the Media Council also in terms of creating relevancy for online media and social media content. And so these are things that we heavily talk about in our book, Media Law and Policy in Uganda, which, as I said, you can find readily on lubogo.org or suigeneris.com, but even in major leading bookstores in this country and also in the world, including Amazon, Scribd, Smashwords, and the likes. We'll also talk about some challenges and controversies in terms of media law and policy, because of what I've been having in terms of the freedom of expression, protecting national security, for example, individual rights, and public order that has been in terms of question of debates. So these controversies have actually arisen regarding the potential misuse of the legal framework in terms of stifling or dissenting voices that have actually, or limiting the access of social media platforms during politically sensitive times. So particularly, I would begin by emphasizing the role of social media in Uganda as a society. The influence of social media in Uganda has actually grown significantly, and no doubt that it serves as a platform for citizens in terms of journalism, activism, and even public discourse. And it has actually played a pivotal role in terms of shaping political narratives, in terms of mobilizing communities. However, these developments have also raised questions about regulation, sometimes in terms of misinformation, but also the spread of what they call hate speech online. So fundamentally, what we're talking about is that Uganda's media law and policy landscape, particularly in the context of social media, as I said, is an evolving terrain that reflects on the country's transition into the digital age. And therefore, as the nation continues to adapt to these new media dynamics, we must carefully navigate the delicate balance between the upholding the freedom of expression and addressing the challenges that have risen in terms of online space. Therefore, an ongoing dialogue and awareness in terms of legal and policy frameworks are essential for both media practitioners and even the wider public in Uganda. Yeah, and therefore it's important to emphasize the power of social media. So when I talk about the power of social media, I refer to the significant influence and impact that social media platforms and networks have on individuals, on communities, on businesses, and the society at large. And it encompasses various aspects that can be understood as follows. For example, in terms of the global reach, social media allows information to reach what they call a vast and global audience in real time. So people from all over the world can actually connect and share content, which can go viral and reach millions of users within a short span of time. So this unprecedented reach is actually fundamental in terms of the aspect of the power of social media, no doubt about that. And then in terms of this, what they call information dissemination, right? In terms of social media becomes the primary source of news and information for many people. Basically, it serves as a channel in terms of the rapid dissemination of information, in terms of both accurate and inaccurate. So this can have far-reaching consequences during crises, during emergencies, and in terms of breaking news events as well. And then also in terms of what they call influencing public opinion, social media platforms provide a space where, for example, opinions or perspectives and narratives or even narratives can actually be shared widely. In terms of influential figures or activists, and ordinary users can actually shape public opinion to drive discussions and even promote social, political, and even cultural change. That becomes extremely important as well. Another instance in terms of amplifying voices, social media empowers individuals and marginalized groups to have their voices heard. So it allows them to, to share their stories in terms of concerns and experiences, which can lead to greater awareness in terms of positive change. Movements like, for example, Me Too and Black Lives Matter gain momentum through social media, and we'll give some examples in terms of that perspective. In terms of political influence, no doubt, political leaders and parties use social media for campaigning in terms of policy promotion and connecting with constituents, for example. So it has become a powerful tool in terms of shaping political discourses, in terms of mobilizing voters and influencing election outcomes. Here at suigeneris, we've got some people, regardless of whether you have any data, they can actually generate information for you and disseminate it in terms of where you're coming from, your constituents, for those of you who are members of parliament. Then there's the economic impact. Social media platforms transform business in terms of landscape. They provide cost-effective way of businesses in terms of marketing products and services, reaching targeted audiences, and also gather customer feedback. So the power of social media in driving e-commerce and digital marketing is undeniable. Then you could also argue in terms of what they call crisis management. Social media is actually essential in terms of what they call crisis communication. So during natural disasters, for example, or emergencies, the public health crises becomes a vital platform in terms of authorities and organizations provide updates for support and even coordinate relief and efforts. You could also look at it in terms of culture and social change. Social media basically plays a role in shaping cultural norms and even social behaviors. It has driven conversations around gender equality, for example, and other rights, racial justice, and environmental awareness in terms of campaigns. So it has gained traction through social media. Then another important one is in terms of education and learning. Social media platforms offer opportunities in terms of online education. Here at suigeneris in Uganda, perhaps we've got what called suigeneris law app that you can easily find on Play Store, or suigenerislawup.com that you can find on iOS or even network. And it has helped greatly a number of students in terms of education. Then you can also argue in terms of as a culture influence in terms of like Instagram or YouTube that have power to sway consumer behavior and even popularize trends, so they can actually effectively promote products and even brands, making influencer marketing very significant as an industry. Then you can argue it in terms of what they call privacy and security concerns. The power of social media also comes with concerns about privacy in terms of data security and the potential for cyberbullying and harassment. So sometimes data breaches and the misuse of personal information are issues that need to be addressed when it comes to this particular component. Then you could also argue in terms of what they call mental health impact. Social media can actually have both positive and negative impacts on mental health, and can provide supportive and connections in terms of contributing to social comparisons or even anxiety, in terms of depression or even particularly among young users. You could also argue in terms of what they call filter bubbles and even echo chambers, where social media algorithms often, show user content that aligns with the existing beliefs, potentially reinforcing biases and even limiting exposure to diverse viewpoints. So this can actually have implications in terms of popularization and the spread of misinformation. So in summary, what we are saying is that the power of social media basically encompasses a wide range of influences, as I said, from information dissemination and opinion shaping to economic impact and even culture change. So its reach and accessibility and speed make it a potent force in today's world. So however, this power comes, as I said, with ethical and societal challenges that need to be addressed, and making the responsible use of and regulation of social media an ongoing topic of discussion and debate. And that's what we're emphasizing today, because I see a lot of it. I see a lot of funny things happening on social media, and sometimes you ask yourself whether some of these guys really are aware of some of these laws or past regulations. Social media platforms and websites, for example, or applications that allow users to create and even share content, or even connect with others and interact with the virtual community. There are numerous social media platforms which with own unique features and purposes. I'm going to give some popular ones that are widely used for purposes of discussion. I'll begin with Facebook, for example. Facebook is one of the most prominent social media platforms with over 2.8 billion monthly users, active users. So it allows users to create profiles and even connect with friends, post text and even multimedia content, and even join groups and even events. Then we could talk about Instagram. Instagram, also owned by Facebook. Instagram focuses basically on sharing photos and even short videos, and it has approximately about 1 billion users. And it's actually known for its visual storytelling and influence in terms of culture. Then there's Twitter, which is now X, adapted X. It's a microblogging platform where users actually share short messages in terms of tweets up to about 280 characters. So it's popular in terms of real-time news and updates and even discussions and trending topics. Then we've got LinkedIn. Okay, LinkedIn is a professional networking platform with over 800 million users. It's primarily used for career development, networking, and even job sharing or searching, and also business-related content sharing as well. Then we have got what we call YouTube. YouTube is probably one of the largest video sharing platforms with over about 2 billion logged in monthly users. Users can actually upload and even watch videos on a wide range of topics. Then there is the popular one with the youth, the one they call Snapchat. Snapchat is known for its disappearing photos and video messages, and it's popular among young users for its informational content and even creative filters. Yeah, so that's another one. There's another one which is on trend now. TikTok. TikTok is a short form video platform where users create and even share entertaining and creative videos. It's gained immense popularity for its user-generated content and even viral challenges as well. Then you could also argue in terms of what they call Pinterest. Pinterest is a visual discovery and bookmarking platform. Users use what they call a pin in terms of images and links to boards to save and even organize ideas or even recipes and other interests, as it were. Then you could also talk about what they call Reddit. Reddit is a platform for user-generated content and discussions, and it's organized into thousands of what they call subreddits, where users can actually discuss a wide variety of topics. Then there is another one that we call WhatsApp. You guys know WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a messaging app with over 3 billion users, and it provides for text and voice messages as well as video calling, and it's known for its end-to-end encryption as a security buffer. There's what they call Tumblr. Tumblr is another microblogging platform that actually focuses on what they call multimedia content, including text, images, and GIFs. It's also known for blogging and community features. Then you could also talk about what they call WeChat. WeChat is a super app popular in China, offering messaging and even social networking, and also mobile payment in terms of many other features in one platform. You could also talk about what they call Vikokante. Vikokante, what they call VX or VK. VK is a Russian social media platform that will feature similar to Facebook, including profiles, groups, and even messaging. There's what they call Weibo. Weibo is also another microblogging platform in China, often compared to Twitter. or to X now, which is used for news and entertainment and even social networking. Another one, which is a popular one these days, is Telegram. Telegram is a messaging app known for its security and private features, and it also supports group chats and channels for broadcasting messages to large audiences, and also the quantity in terms of what substance. It carries quite heavy stuff as compared to WhatsApp. I think it's a big feature to reckon with. There's Medium. Medium is another blogging platform that actually allows users to write and publish long forms of articles on a wide range of topics. It's known for focus on quality and even content. Then you could also talk about Quora. Quora is a question and answer platform where users can ask questions and answer questions, okay, and also engage in discussions on a multitude of topics. When I talk about AI, I'll talk about other things that are not specifically AI, but I know where you get in terms of ChatGPT. But here I could argue in terms of specifically social media. So Flickr. Flickr is the photo sharing platform primarily used for photographers and visual artists to showcase their work and even connect with them in the community of enthusiasts. And then you could also argue in terms of what they call Yelp. Yelp is another platform for user-generated reviews and recommendations for business in terms of restaurants and services. So users can actually rate and even review business related to their experiences. A beautiful one for those of you who are book lovers is what they call Goodreads. Goodreads is a social platform for book lovers, and users can actually discover, review, and even recommend books, as well as join reading groups and discussions. We have quite a number of books on Goodreads. Then there's what I call SoundCloud. SoundCloud is another musical sharing platform where musicians and artists can actually upload and share and even discover audio tracks and even podcasts. Yeah, and then you could also talk about the call Nextdoor. Nextdoor is a social network for neighborhoods, allowing residents to connect with their neighbors, discuss local issues, and even share information in terms of their abouts or events or even services in the area. I'm laboring to go through this because I'm creating a base so that when we're talking about this, you understand. This is what they call MySpace. MySpace, well, it's no longer as popular as it was. MySpace is a platform for music and entertainment, and it's often used by musicians and artists to promote their work. There's also what they call Meetup. Meetup is a popular platform for organizing and finding in-person events and gatherings based on shared interests and even hobbies. Then another one is what they call Twitch. Twitch is a live streaming platform primarily focused on gaming and esports, but has actually expanded to include various other content, including art and music and even talk shows. So you realize that even as I begin to mention many of these things, there's a lot of stuff that many people may not be knowing, and sometimes we limit ourselves on what has been exposed to us. There's Clubhouse. Clubhouse is another audio-based social networking app where users can actually join even host conversations in terms of virtual rooms and even on a wide range of topics. There was called Parler. Parler is another platform known for its commitment in terms of free speech and minimum content moderation, which has actually led to its being popular and sometimes controversial. So I will mention quite as many as those that I can be able to put together, but the argument here is to analyze the effect of social media in terms of the impact on society. There's Gab. Gab is another platform that emphasizes free speech in terms of appealing to users who want fewer, content restrictions. So, as I said, it's important to know that the popularity and the features of these platforms may change over time, and new platforms continue to emerge, and that's something that you must understand. So, users should actually consider their specific interests and privacy preferences when choosing which platforms to engage with. And we shall also argue that additionally, some platforms they have specific content policies and guidelines that users should actually be aware when they're actually participating. And this is where we are coming from as guardians of society, legal guardians of society, because it's easy for you to make mistakes. So social media has actually become, as I said, an integral part of modern society, playing a significant role in terms of shaping the way people communicate, how we share information, how we engage within the world, and therefore its power, as I said, is undeniable. And we're going to discuss some of those effects as far as social media. One of the biggest effects is what it has in terms of what they call global connectivity. Social media platforms like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn connect people from all corners of the globe. So this interconnectedness has actually transformed the way we communicate, breaking down what they call geographical barriers and even enabling what they call instant communication with individuals and groups worldwide. Okay. Another, it will be in terms of what they call information dissemination. As I said, social media serves as a powerful channel for the rapid spread of information in terms of news, in terms of trends, in terms of developments that can go viral within minutes. So allowing for what they call real-time updates on a wide range of topics. So this is particularly important during crises or even breaking news in events when information needs to be disseminated quickly. And then it can also be an argument in terms of what they call amplifying voices. Social media provides a platform for individuals and groups to voice their opinions and even concerns. It has actually played a crucial role in various social and even political movements, enabling activists to organize and even reach a broad audience, leading to what they call real-world change. Yeah. As I said, it's another super important aspect in terms of what they call influencing culture. In terms of the rays of influencing, content creators like on platforms like Instagram or even YouTube have given individuals the power to shape consumer behavior, and this influence trends and even in terms of impacting what they call public opinion. So this has ended up transforming traditional advertising and even marketing strategies. So you need to understand the power of media for you to understand. Media can make you or break you. In terms of business and marketing, for example, social media is powerful in the sense that it engages business with customers, conducting market research and even promoting products and services. It has enabled more personalized marketing, for example, targeted advertising and even direct customer feedback. And then in terms of political influence, who doesn't know that social media plays a significant role in terms of politics, from election campaigns to diplomacy. Political leaders and even parties use platforms to connect with constituents, and that's the point I was making here in terms of sharing their policies and even influencing public opinion. So it has been actually, it has been used as a source of concern due to the spread of sometimes misinformation, but it's important to understand that it can actually sometimes lead to interference in terms of elections. But let's look at the good side of it, right? It's also an aspect of social change. Social media has actually contributed to changing societal norms, challenging long-standing beliefs. For example, it has brought attention to issues like gender equality, racial justice, climate change, and I talked about movements like Black Lives Matter gained in the US a lot of traction and global support through social media. Yeah. And then education opportunities. Social media has actually transformed education. I just talked about suigeneris law app that is readily available on Play Store for a one-stop center where you can have everything in law. YouTube, when you go to lubogo.org or my YouTube channel, it has lots of information in terms of every subject on planet Earth and probably all the books we talked about. And then in terms of health and welfare or wellness, social media has actually both positive and negative impacts in terms of health. On one hand, can actually provide support and information for those dealing with health issues. On the other hand, excessive use can actually lead to issues like anxiety, obviously, and depression. I remember one time I was kicked off a platform because I was telling them about the challenges of of COVID. And some people were not confident enough to understand that, and they felt it was a bit personal. I don't know how. But privacy and security concerns, the power of social media also brings significant, privacy in terms of security organs. Data breaches, for example, identity theft, and cyberbullying are just a few of those risks that are associated with the widespread of the use of these platforms. I know I talked about filter bubbles and echo chambers, where we argued that social media algorithms often show user contents that align with the existing beliefs and preferences, so potentially creating filter bubbles and even echo chambers. This can actually help in reinforcing pre-existing biases and even limiting the exposure of diverse viewpoints. So you just don't know the power of social media. You underestimate it when you take it wrong. So the power of social media is vast and multifaceted. It has revolutionized the way we communicate, the way we engage in the world, and it influences societal change. So the power also comes with responsibilities, including addressing those challenges and risks that are associated, for example, with this so-called digital age, such as misinformation, privacy, and even mental health concerns. So the role of social media in society continues to evolve, and therefore will be important in terms of discussions and debate. Yeah. Now, please understand that social media campaigns primarily engage or help in terms of generating what they call revenue through various methods, including things like advertising, data monetization, for example, and premium features or services. So it's important that I'm going to give you certain examples of how they do this based on the knowledge that has been dispensed in our book, of media policy and law in Uganda by Isaac Christopher Lubogo. But one of the ways is by what they call advertising revenue. Now, this is the most significant source or outcome for many social media platforms. Companies usually pay to display ads on these platforms because of their extensive user bases and the ability to target specific demographics. So the revenue generated from advertising is actually based on several key factors, and some of them include things like the number of users. In others, the larger the user base, the more appealing the platform is to the advertisers. Yeah. And then in terms of user engagement, platform with, for example, high user engagement, where users spend more time in terms of interacting with content or tend to attract more advertising in terms of money. Yeah. And then in terms of advert formats, platforms offer various and even ad formats such as display ads or sponsored posts or video ads and more, and different pricing models. For example, cost per click, or even cost per impression, or even cost per acquisition. And then in terms of targeting capabilities, advanced targeting also, in terms of it allows advertisers to reach their desired audience more effectively, making advertising on social media even more appealing. Yeah. And then another aspect is in terms of what they call data monetization. Yeah. Social media platforms collect extensive use of data, including demographic information, interests, and even user behavior. So they actually may monetize this data by actually providing insights and targeted data to businesses for better targeting. So in terms of market research, for example, and other purposes. So while not directly quantifiable with statistical data monetization is actually a significant part of their revenue strategy. And that is something that we have to comprehend. And then especially if you're dealing with what they call premium features or services, some social media platforms offer premium features and services for a fee. For example, LinkedIn offers premium subscription with enhanced features for job seekers in terms of businesses. So these premium services contribute to revenue, but the exact financial data can actually vary among different platforms. Yeah. And then we could also talk about what they call e-commerce integration. Platforms like Instagram, for example, and Facebook allow businesses, for example, to sell products directly through their sites, and these platforms may actually, make a percentage of sales by generating through what they call e-commerce transactions. So that's something that you need to comprehend as well. Now, also there's what they call sponsored content. Influencers and content creators on platforms like Instagram and YouTube may actually partner with brands for what they call sponsored content. So the platform may actually facilitate this partnership and even take shares of the revenue generated from sponsors, videos or even posts, and that's very common. Then you could also look at it as what they call live streaming and virtual goods. So some platforms like Twitch offer what they call live streaming services, while users can actually donate or even purchase virtual goods during these streams. So the platforms take the percentage of these transactions. Yeah. And you could also argue in terms of what they call app stores. Social media platforms with mobile apps may generate revenue through app stores by taking a percentage in an app purchase made through their apps. For example, Apple's Apple Store or even Google Play Store take a portion off in terms of every app purchase. Yeah. As a person who has engaged a lot in some of these things, I can tell you that some of these things do really happen. Now, it's important to note that revenue figures vary, as I said, significantly in terms of different social media platforms. And therefore, detailed financial data for specific social media companies have to be found within their annual reports or even financial news resources. So companies like Facebook, now Meta, Twitter, now X, and Snap are examples of social media companies that actually, report their financial results to the public. And I'm going to give you some other ways in which these platforms still would help in terms of generating resources. They also do that by what they call affiliate marketing. Under that, you could argue in terms of social media platforms which participate in affiliate marketing programs. They may actually receive commission for driving sales or traffic to e-commerce websites through affiliate links or even referral codes shared by the users. And then you could also argue in terms of what they call subscription models. So while less common, some social media platforms offer premium or even ad-free subscription models. So subscribers may end up paying a regular fee to access enhanced features, or in terms of removing ads, even providing a stable source for their revenue. And then you could also look at it in terms of what they call event promotion and ticket sales. Platforms like Facebook, again, have features for promoting and even selling events tickets, and they can generate revenue by actually taking a portion of of ticket sales through event promotion fees. Yeah. And then you could also talk about what they call gaming and in-app purchases. Yeah, social media platforms that integrate gaming often make money from in-game purchases, such as viral items or currency. They may also take a share of the transactions when users buy or sell in-game items. Yeah. And then you could also look at what they call donations and crowdfunding. Some platforms, especially those focused on content creators and live streaming, offer donations and crowdfunding options for users to support their favorite creators. So platforms may take a percentage of these donations. So you see that this is a multi-billion project in terms of the future, and in terms of the power that it holds. Data licensing is another. Beyond data monetization, social media platforms may license what they call aggregated and even anonymized use data to research firms or even marketers or other business for market analysis and insights. Then you could also argue in terms of what they call SaaS and enterprise solutions. Platforms like LinkedIn, as I said, offer premium services to businesses for talent recruitment, advertising, lead generation. So the businesses pay for these services, contributing to the platform's revenue as well. So those of you who underestimate the power of social media, you are in for a shock. Then you could argue in terms of the call marketplace, or what they call classifieds. Platforms like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist facilitate peer-to-peer transaction, job posting, and classified ads. They actually may charge fees for certain listing or even promoted items. Yeah. You could also argue in terms of what they call donation and tip jars. Some platforms enable content creators to receive direct donations from tips from their followers or even fans, and the platforms actually facilitate these transactions and even take a percentage. So it's important, my friends, that even as you comprehend some of the things, you must keep in mind that revenue streams mentioned can actually, as I said, vary from platform to platform, and the specific models and percentage may change over time as platforms evolve and adapt to market trends and user preferences. So it's very important that if you need a little bit more interest in terms of understanding exactly what you'll be earning, for example, those of you who want to engage in it, you have to carry out substantive research. But it's important to know that the influence of social media on people's behavior, attitudes, and decisions is a complex, as I said, and multi-faceted topic. So it's important to note that the effects, as I said, will vary based on individual factors and circumstances. And I may provide certain empirical evidence in terms of research studies that have engaged in terms of what we're talking about. But for starters, we could argue it from what they call a social comparison point of view. Social media platforms often present an idealized version of people's lives. So users may actually compare themselves to these idealized images, leading to feelings of inadequacy or lower self-esteem and even depression. So a study, for example, published in the journal Social and Clinical Psychology found that limiting social media use to about 30 minutes a day led to significant reductions in depressive symptoms and even loneliness among participants. Yeah, so that's something you need to comprehend. I'll give another one. In terms of opinion formation and echo chambers, social media can actually create what they call echo chambers, where individuals are actually exposed to content and opinions that align with their existing beliefs. A study, for example, published in Proceedings of what they call the National Academy of Sciences, found that on Facebook, exposure on opposing political views was actually rare, leading to greater polarization in terms of political opinions. Another example would come in what they call social movements and activism. Social media has actually played a significant role in mobilizing and organizing social movements. I'll give an example of the Arab Spring, for example, saw the extensive use of social media for activism. A report by the Pew Research Center highlighted that about 76 of American elders, for example, said social media played a major role in raising awareness about important issues. Yeah, I could argue in terms of what they call consumer behavior. Social media influences what they call consumer choices by exposing users to product recommendations, to reviews, and even endorsement by influencers. A report by what they call Global Web Index found that 37% of internet users discovered new brands and products through social media advertising, for example. Yeah? And then how about arguing in terms of political engagement? Social media platforms are used for political campaigns, voter engagement, and activism. A study published, for example, in the Journal for Communication found that political engagement through social media increased political knowledge and participation among young people. Yeah? And then you could also argue it in terms of what they call news consumption. Many people turn to social media for news. A study by Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism reported that about 28% of survey respondents identified social media as their primary source of news, influencing their perception of current events. Yeah? So you see where we're coming from and why we see that we're dealing with some kind of superpower of sorts. Yeah? No wonder people like Ted Turner used to celebrate that they won the Cold War. Then in terms of health and wellness, Ted Turner, the former owner of CNN, if you argue, a study published by JAMA Pediatrics found that social media exposure to smoking, alcohol, and drug content was actually associated with higher odds of engaging in these behaviors among adolescents. Yeah? So I'm just giving you the influence and the power of social media. In terms of body and image and beauty standards, exposure to idealized body images on social media can actually impact your body and self-esteem. A research published in computers in human behavior found that young women exposed to appearance-related posts on Instagram, for example, reported more body dissatisfaction and appearance in terms of anxiety. Yeah, and then there's what they call emotional contagion. Yeah, a study conducted by Facebook some time ago, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, demonstrated that emotional content on users' news feeds can actually influence their own emotional expressions, showing evidence of emotional contagion through social media. So, why am I laboring to say this? Because I know that we depend on social media. I've been in people's homes, even my own home, where your kids and family and members and grandmother are 24/7 on their phones. The moment they say two signs of kula, but that's the end of it. The rest is husbands and wives communicate on social media. Chai mutadeo, amazinga tadeo, stuff like that. You know, there's a lot of influence in terms of social media, even in lecturing now. Yeah. So it's important for you that you must understand that even as engaging in this big bully now, big brother called social media, we have to comprehend and understand what we're dealing with. Yeah. Then you could talk about cyberbullying and even mental health. Research published in JAMA Pediatrics found that cyberbullying on social media was actually associated with increased risk in terms of depression and suicidal behaviors among adolescents. It highlights the negative impacts of online harassment and even mental health. Yeah. And then you could also argue in terms of what they call FOMO, what they call fear of missing out. A study published in Computers in Human Behavior found that the fear of missing out is a significant psychological consequence of social media use. People who actually experience FOMO may actually feel anxious or even dissatisfied when they see others on social activities online. We know that status, for example, on WhatsApp, you could when people put stuff on their status, people get disappointed, anxious because so and so is in a certain place. How about filter bubbles? Research by Pew Research found that social media can actually create what they call filter bubbles, where users are exposed to primary information and viewpoints that align with their existing beliefs. So this can actually reinforce biases and even limit exposure in terms of diverse perspectives. Then you could argue in terms of what they call product reviews and recommendations. A study published in the Journal of Advertising Research found that consumers are more likely to make purchases based on social media recommendations and reviews from friends and influencers. So do you see the power that we're talking about? This is a silent nuclear power, social power, that you have to comprehend and handle wisely. Public opinion and in terms of social movement. A study published in the American Political Science Review found that social media plays a crucial role in shaping public opinion during protests and social movement. It can amplify messages and influence public sentiments. Yeah? And then if you're arguing in terms of online learning and education, research by what they call Babson Survey Group reported that 63.3% of education institutions surveyed believe that social media is essential for recruiting students and even enhancing learning experiences, demonstrating the influence of social media in the field of education. We did that during the COVID time. Remember, we engaged, we came up with a one-stop app which we call Sui Generis. state of art, first of its kind in the entire world, where you can learn everything in law, beginning from graduate to PhD. How about relationship and social support? A study published by the Cyber Psychology report, it found that social media can actually enhance and strengthen what they call social responsibilities by providing emotional support and a sense of connection, especially among users with strong ties. Yeah? Which reminds me of a guy who celebrated 24 hours for not being on the internet. How about digital well-being in terms of screen time? Research from Common Sense Media found that excessive screen time, including social media use, can have negative effects on children's physical and even emotional well-being. This obviously led to discussions about responsible screen time and digital well-being. Perhaps that is something we need to look out for. In terms of political campaigns, social media has actually been extensively studied in the context of political campaign. I have guys here at Suigeneris who work with us. They say, members of parliament, engage us. You don't have to give us any data. We're going to just send messages, and every person in your constituents will get to know what you're saying at every time. Think about that. That's the way the world is going to be. That's the way the world is going to be. That's the way it's going to be influenced. How about in terms of emergency response and disaster relief? Research has actually shown that social media can actually be a valuable tool in terms of sharing critical information and coordinating disaster responses during emergencies and even natural disasters. In Europe, something happens on the road, they tell you instantly. Your phone cautions you, that's where we're going. Online radicalization and extremism is another problem. Studies have examined how social media can actually be used for online radicalization and recruitment of extremist groups, highlighting the potential of these harmful influences. And that's something you have to look at in terms of the negative perspective. Yeah. Notwithstanding the fact that even as you engage in these social media frenzies, there's an argument of privacy. Phones like iPhone or even groups like WhatsApp have what they call end-to-end encryption, and it's very difficult to break through them. So the argument is that security agents may not be able to access or even infringe on your privacy. That's a question of debate, but we'll get there at a certain time. So please understand, in terms of influencer marketing, influencers basically are individuals who have actually established significant and engaged following on social media. So they usually partner with brands to promote products and services for their audience, and they may be paid for sponsored posts or even reviews and actual endorsement. So the compensation can actually vary widely depending on the influencer's reach and even niche, if you like. Yeah, I'm just trying to understand and comprehend the advantages of engaging in such services. It can also help in selling products and services. Individuals can actually use social media to promote and sell their products or services. We see it here, Jimmy and the likes. Yeah, so this could include selling crafted goods, artworks, digital products. Even now on TikTok, people use it to advertise their stuff. Yeah, affiliate marketing, for example. Affiliate marketing involves promoting products and services and earning, a commission for each sale to lead generation, generated through what they call unique affiliate links. So social media platforms provide a space to share affiliate links and earn commissions for successful referrals. Yeah, and then a popular one is what they call YouTube monetization. YouTubers can actually monetize their channel through YouTube Partner Program. And this program allows creators to earn money from ads displayed on their videos, as well as through channel membership, in terms of merchandise sales or even super chats during live streams. Yeah, and that's a business. I've seen many people here, many bloggers actually are engaging in it, and they're earning handsomely or beautifully for that purpose. And then it is also called content licensing. Content creators such as photographers and videographers can actually license their work for use in advertisement or publications or on websites. So social media can actually be very valuable in terms of showcasing their portfolios and even attracting potential clients. That's something that is extremely important. Maybe by sharing some of our works on YouTube, we're doing the same. But also in terms of digital products and courses, individuals can actually create and sell digital products like ebooks, online courses, templates, and even stock photography through their social media channels. They can actually market these products to the followers. Sometimes we do that by exposing our books. Right now I'm trying to emphasize media law and policy in Uganda by Isaac Christopher Lubogo. So maybe, who knows, consulting and coaching experts in various fields such as businesses, in career development also can use social media to showcase their expertise and even offer consulting services to clients who reach out to them. Yeah, And you could also argue in terms of what they call live streaming and donation. Some platforms like Twitch or YouTube allow users to receive donations and even tips during their live streams. Yeah, so fans and viewers can actually support content creators financially in real time. So the power of social media. Those of you who don't know it, you're dealing with a super big giant with a lot of potential. Freelancing and what they call gig work. Social media platforms can actually be used to network and even find what they call freelance or gig work. Many individuals use social media to connect with their potential clients or employers and showcase their skills and portfolios. Yeah. So we're now going away from the traditional of looking at things to another kind of direction. That's why we need to comprehend. Then sponsorship and collaborations beyond influence marketing. Individuals can actually collaborate with brands and event organizations on various projects and partnerships. So these may include content creation, event appearances, and ambassadorship with negotiated compensation. Yeah. Leave around the fact that people may brand themselves. Who knows? By saying what we say, someone is able to look out for you and say, by the way, that gentleman Lubogo can be helpful in this. Let's engage them. How about membership and subscription models? Some social media platforms like Patreon or even OnlyFans enable creators to offer exclusive content and experiences to subscribers or members for a regular, fee. For example, we don't charge yet. Who knows tomorrow when we get the brand? Who knows? Maybe we need certain things to run. How about selling merchandise? Many influencers and even content creators design, sell branded merchandise such as clothing, accessories, and digital downloads to actually, to their dedicated fan base. Yeah. How about public speaking and workshops? Building a strong personal brand on social media can actually open doors to opportunities for public speaking engagements, or even workshops, or even training sessions, which can actually be monetized. Who knows what Isaac C. Lubogo will be tomorrow? Maybe he will be what? A celebrated public speaker at a certain time because of what we do today. Yeah. How about donations and crowdfunding? Some individuals ask for donations or use crowdfunding platforms like Patreon or Kickstarter or even GoFundMe to support their creative projects in terms of causes and in terms of their personal endeavors. Yeah. So please understand that the key to successfully monetizing social media is to provide, as I said, value for your audience, building a loyal following, and maintain authenticity and consistency in your online presence. And it's important to know that different social media platforms and niches may have unique monetization opportunities. So individuals could explore options that best align with your expertise and audience. Additionally, staying updated in terms of policies, in terms of regulations is important in terms of ensuring compliance and sustainable income streams. That is super important. Yeah. I'll give you some additional methods that social media is actually engaging in. In terms of what they call brand collaborations and ambassadorship, individuals can actually collaborate with what they call brands on long-term partnership, becoming brand ambassadors. So these collaborations will actually include creating content, appearing in an advertisement, and even representing the brand at events. Yeah. Then crowdsourcing and fundraising. As I said, some individuals stand platforms like Kickstarter or even what they call Indiegogo to crowdfund their creative projects in terms of businesses, in terms of charitable causes. So social media can actually be a variable tool in terms of promoting and sharing crowdfunding campaigns. Yes. Another thing that you may want to look at is in terms of what they call online events and webinars. Yeah, hosting webinars, workshops, online events can actually be monetized through ticket sales and registrations. So social media can actually be used to promote and market these events to a broader audience. Yeah, in terms of selling art or even crafts, arts and crafters can actually showcase their work on social media and sell their creative directly to their followers. So platforms like Etsy are commonly used for selling handmade items. Yes, and then you could argue in terms of property rentals as well. I mean, we've seen this everywhere. Individuals can actually use social media to market their properties for short-term rentals in terms of vacation stays, or even platforms like here we have Jumia and likes that can be integrated with social media marketing. Yeah, in terms of marketing or whatever you're doing. Personal branding and speaking engagements, developing strong personal brands through social media can actually open doors in terms of speaking engagements or keynote addresses at conferences, events, and even corporate gatherings as well. Not to mention teaching and tutoring. Skilled individuals can actually offer online tutoring in terms of courses such as language learning, academic subjects, music, fitness, social media, in terms of attracting students and also promoting these services. So again, I'm just super emphasizing how useful and how relevant social media cannot be used on a daily. It can also be used in terms of event planning and coordination. Event planners use social media to promote their services and even attract clients seeking assistance with organizations in terms of weddings, in terms of corporate events, or even parties. Yeah. Others may also use it in terms of what they call selling stock photography and videos. Yeah. Photographers and videographers can actually license their their work as stock media through platforms like Shutterstock or even Adobe Stock, and then promote their portfolios on social media. Yeah, so that's another important thing. And another one is in terms of writing and blogging. Yeah, writers and bloggers can actually use social media to attract readers to their website or blogs, where they actually monetize their content through advertising, in terms of affiliating marketing and even subscription models. Yeah, and then you could also argue in terms of what they call mentorship and coaching programs. Experienced professionals can actually offer mentorship and coaching programs on various topics such as career development, entrepreneurship, or even personal growth, using social media to connect with clients. So I don't know, I could go on and explain all these things, but I'm laying a background, as I said, for the importance of social media, because we're looking at media law and policy in respect to social media. Selling pre-owned items, individuals can actually use media platforms on marketplaces like Facebook Marketplace to sell second-hand clothes. We know that in Uganda we have it. Podcasting is another area. Podcasts can monetize your content through sponsorship, in terms of advertising, affiliating, marketing, or even listener support. Social media becomes an effective platform in terms of promoting podcasts and even engaging with listeners. Yeah, you could also look at it in terms of fitness and wellness, as in terms of coaching. Yeah, in terms of fitness, trainers or nutritionists or wellness coaches can actually provide personalized services through social media, offering training programs, meal plans, and wellness advices. Yeah, so we are lucky that you're living in a generation where everything now is a question of the internet. Tech support and IT services. Individuals with technical expertise can actually offer IT support through troubleshooting tech services to clients who actually connect through social media. Yeah, travel blogging and influence campaigns, for example. Travel enthusiasts can actually document their journeys or journals for that purpose, in terms of monetizing their content through partnership with travel brands or even hotels and tourism. Yeah, so you understand that we're living in the world called the Internet of Things, which reminds us of our book that we wrote called The Internet of Things, where the world is interconnected, that we just can't afford to be left behind. So everything is moving at a supersonic speed, and it's extremely important that we live in the age of today and prepare for tomorrow. And it's a time that we comprehend some of these things, and some of the things may come up so fast that we lose touch. So it's important that you have to acquaintance yourself, acclimatize yourself, but also to keep yourself on the edge in terms of knowing, learning, perhaps unlearning, but also preparing yourself for the future, because the future is with us. We could also argue in terms of reviewing products and services. Individuals can actually earn money by reviewing products or services on social media platforms or their own blogs and channels. So companies may actually pay for honest and what they call detailed reviews to reach potential customers. Yeah, and it's happening. People are earning a lot of money. Here in Uganda, I see bloggers have taken it on another level. The only problem is the content, and I think that's where we need to guide them in terms of the content, in terms of the law, the regulations, in terms of what to say, what not to say. In terms of remote work, freelancing, for example, social media can actually be used to connect with potential employers and clients in terms of remote work opportunities in various fields such as writing, graphic design, social media management, and even programming. And in terms of language teaching and translation services, I've seen that. Okay, I've seen people where you have to engage some of them. Bilingual individuals can actually offer language teaching, translation, and even interpretation in terms of clients through social media connections. Yeah, which probably talks about the law in terms of engaging agreements of contractual obligations that have to do with that. Then consulting for entrepreneurs, and experienced entrepreneurs and business professionals can actually provide consulting services for startups and even small businesses, okay, where they need strategy or marketing or even finance. Yeah, of course, capability will come in terms of what if someone engaged and relied on your evidence and then they found themselves in trouble. Those are the legal aspects, again, that have to be comprehended. virtual assistants. Individuals can actually have what they call virtual assistants to help businesses, professionals in terms of administrative work, email management, for example, and appointment in terms of scheduling. I mentioned real estate services. Real estate agents can actually use social media to market their products in connecting with potential buyers and renters. Social media influencers, often partner with real estate companies for promotions. Yeah. And then you could also look at it in terms of what they call Patreon and Subtract. So content creators can actually use platforms like Patreon and Subtract to offer exclusive content on, for example, on newsletters to subscribe who pay a monthly fee to access their work. Yeah. So there's a lot of money now that can be made off social media, and people are getting lots and lots of money. I'll mention some of them. Financial services and investment advice. Financial experts can actually use social media to offer financial planning, investment advice, budgeting services in terms of clients seeking for financial guidance. Yeah. Even what they call event photography and videography. Individuals with photography and videography skills use social media to showcase their work in terms of attracting clients to events like weddings, corporate gatherings, and parties. And then culinary and then food services is another area. Food enthusiasts, for example, can monetize their passion by offering cooking services, or food photography, or catering, or selling homemade products like baked goods or cakes or stuff like that. And then parenting and childcare services is another area where experienced parents can actually offer parenting services in terms of babysitting services or virtual parenting classes to other parents in need of such information. So I think by mentioning all these things, you can now understand how big the business is. Tech and gadget reviews. Individuals with passion for technology can provide reviews, recommendations in terms of tech products, earning in terms of affiliate income and sponsorship. And then in terms of home improvement and renovation services, individuals with skills in home improvement and renovation can actually use social media to promote their services to connect with homeowners in terms of assistance. Yeah. So it tells you that that almost everything I'm talking about is part of the world today, and that we're gonna live with it almost for the rest of our life, and that now you could basically get everything by a click or on your phone or your gadget on your laptop, perhaps by simply engaging and finding a review or finding an explanation to almost anything. Yeah. Things to do with esports and competitive gaming. Skilled gamers, for example, can earn money by competing in what they call esports tournaments, streaming their gameplay on platforms like Twitch and participating in sponsorship and even endorsement. I'm told people these days sit back home, all they need is a very good computer or laptop and engage in making money offline. And then there's what they call senior companion and even caregiving. So compassionate individuals can actually offer what they call senior companion services or caregiving to older adults using social media to connect with families seeking assistance. Then how about stuff with custom arts and even crafts, where arts and crafters can create what they call custom pieces and craft bases on clients using social media to showcase their work and even accept commissions. Yeah. And then how about aspects to do with interior designs and home decor services? Yeah. Individuals with expertise in terms of interior design can actually use social media to promote their services and even connect with clients seeking what they call home decorating services. Yeah. Fitness apparel and merchandise. Fitness in terms of those who are individuals can actually design and sell branded fitness apparels in terms of merchandise. So the world has now been overtaken by this modern frenzy called social media. So we just cannot afford to do away with social media, and that's why I'm now actually making this advocacy in terms of media law and policy as a case study in terms of what social media is able to do and what we need to look out for when we are engaging in social media. As I said, we have got so many social media tools that are user friendly. Some are super good, and many of them can make people happy in terms of financial strength, in terms of emotional strength, and in terms of many other things. Yeah. So you must understand, my friends, that the potential of social media influence on the world in terms of superpower or global geopolitics is extremely substantial and has been demonstrated in various ways. So it's important to know that it has actually played so much in shaping narratives, in terms of policies, in terms of global events, and I may want to give some influence in terms of what they call how social media has influenced the world superpower dynamics. Yeah, in terms of diplomacy, for example, and international relations, when you're arguing diplomatic negotiations, social media platforms have become a tool for diplomats and world leaders to engage in public diplomacy. For example, Twitter, which is now X, has actually been used by leaders such as your guy, Donald Trump, or your friend Vladimir Putin, or Kim Jong-un, to make official statements expressing foreign policy position and even engaging in counterparts. In terms of even summit diplomacy, social media played a role in the diplomacy leading to the so-called historic summit between North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and South Korean President Moon Jae-in. So the use of Twitter or former X and other platforms allowed leaders to communicate directly with their respective citizens around the world. Yeah, I'm just looking at it in terms of the bigger context now. Yeah, in terms of global crises and conflict, let's argue the Arab Spring, for example. The Arab Spring uprising across the Middle East and North Africa were heavily influenced by social media platforms like Twitter, yeah, and Facebook, which facilitated the organization of protests and even dissemination of information, leading to significant political changes in several countries. Yeah, if you're arguing, for example, the Ukraine crisis during the conflict in Ukraine, social media was actually a platform for dissemination in terms of information, in terms of propaganda, in terms of real-time updates, in terms of influencing global perceptions of the situation and prompting international responses. Yeah, maybe that's the reason why Facebook was banned in Uganda. Yeah, and then issues to do with global human rights movements. Groups like Black Lives Matter, the global reach of social media enabled hashtag Black Lives Matter movement to gain momentum and influence discussions on social injustice and police brutality. In terms of protests and calls for reform that actually started in the US, that resonated worldwide. We also had one they called hashtag #MeToo. The hashtag #MeToo movement used social media to raise awareness about sexual harassment, and that's out leading to culture and policy changes across the globe. Yeah, and then we could argue it in terms of what they call information warfare and disinformation, where people argued in terms of the Russian interference. The Russian government has actually been accused of using social media to interfere in the foreign elections, and he has spread false information as seen in the so-called US 2016 presidential election and other political events in Europe. It's a question of debate. Whether or not that is true is a question of debate, but its possibility cannot be ruled out. In terms of global health crises, look at the COVID-19 pandemic. Social media played a crucial role in sharing information, updates, and even public health guidelines during the COVID-19 pandemic. It also became a platform for misinformation and conspiracy theories that influence public perception and behavior. And that caused a lot of fracas in our country. Yeah, global activism. In terms of climate change activism, climate activists like Greta Thunberg have actually leveraged social media to mobilize global youth movements such as Fridays for Future protests, advocating for climate action. You could also argue in terms of what they call public opinion and soft power projection. So superpowers are social medias. They use social medias to project their culture and political values globally, and that's something that is extremely important. For instance, the U.S. Department of State uses social media to promote American culture and values through programs like International Vista Leadership Programs. Yeah, and they have done that very well. Even using other media platforms like the TVs and the likes. I'll get there. I'll get to CNN and BBC and the likes. So while social media potential influences on global superpower is evident, it's super essential to recognize that its impact can actually be both positive and negative. So social media platforms have the power to facilitate communication, to amplify voices, to drive positive change, but they can also be used for propaganda, disinformation, and division. So the dynamics of social media and its role in terms of world superpower superiority must evolve and shape modern global landscapes. Yeah. In terms of the world superpower dynamics, if you're arguing social media potential in terms of influencing the world, it can also be argued in terms of what they call crisis management and disaster response. Yeah. in terms of natural responses. Social media platforms have actually been instrumental in disseminating what they call real-time updates in terms of coordinating relief efforts and raising awareness during disaster and humanitarian crises, impacting how the world's superpowers respond in terms of providing aid. Yeah. The reason why I'm overemphasizing this is that, as I said, I'm seeing a lot of social media here, but I'm not very sure if it is being done or used in the right way. Talk about global economic and trade relations, trade disputes. Social media is actually used by leaders and policymakers to communicate their stance on international trade relations and trade wars. Public discussions in terms of statements on platforms like Twitter, for example, can influence what they call stock markets and even investor sentiments. Yeah. Talk about cybersecurity and national security. When you're arguing cyber threats, social media can actually be used to share warnings and updates about cybersecurity threats, as well as promote cybersecurity policies and initiatives at the national and international levels. Here, we have politicized it in the sense that people are fighting one another on social media. You know the guys I'm talking about. I'm not going to mention them. How about global education and research collaboration? Scientific research. Scientists, in terms of researchers, academic users, use social media to share research findings, collaborate what they call cross-border, and even engage in international scientific discussion, which can influence what they call global research trends. Yeah. And then you could argue in terms of what they call global philanthropy and aid. Yeah. Humanitarian efforts. Social media has actually been used to raise awareness and funds for humanitarian, crises, such as refugee support and disaster relief. Celebrities and influential figures often leverage their social media presence for what they call philanthropic causes. Yeah. You could also argue in terms of the UN and international organizations, by way of international diplomacy. The United Nations and various international organizations use social media to engage with member states, for example, to share resolutions and even promote global initiatives, making their work more transparent and accessible to the public. Yeah. You could also argue in terms of what they call global security threats and counterterrorism. Yeah. In terms of counterterrorism measures, social media is actually used by governments to monitor and even combat extremist activities in terms of recruitment online and contributing to counterterrorism efforts. So you could also argue it in terms of what they call cultural exchange and even soft diplomacy. In terms of cultural exchanges, social media enables cultural diplomacy, fostering what they call cross-cultural understanding and exchanges through art, music, film, and even cultural events. So again, my friends, it's important that you cannot underestimate the influence of social media, and how I wish that we can comprehend and understand social media on a mother perspective rather than politicizing things. Global connectivity, trade facilitation, for example, e-commerce and trade, these are things that we're talking about. And that's why one time the president said he banned internet because people were dealing in trivial things, in his opinion. There was a lot of poco, to use that word. But how about in terms of interactions with international organizations? How about aspects to do with social media diplomacy? International organizations such as the World Health Organization and the UN use social media to share information, coordinating responses in terms of global crises, and even engaging global audiences. So I think the point here is that how do we educate our masses to engage more responsibly in terms of understanding the comprehension of the power of social media? How about scientific collaboration and information sharing in terms of, as I said, pandemic responses? I just argued COVID-19 for you. These are things that we need to talk about. So you must understand that the power of social media should really be reflected on a much more broader perspective rather than the obvious trivialities that we engage in terms of Holocaust, to use that phrase, where people send assaults and insults to other people and demonize them and castigate them and make fun of them, rather than comprehending that could be a little bit of icebreakers. But then the emphasis should be comprehending in terms of social media, in terms of the effect that it could have in this 21st century. Yeah. And needless to point out that social media has actually made gurus out of people who have productively used it in terms of mass significant economic monetary power through various means, such as sponsorship, as I told you, such as endorsements, such as brand collaborations, such as monetization of their personal brands. Yeah. So you must understand that I could argue some few examples of social media influencers in terms of their economic influence, so that you can get a better picture of, if you responsibly use your social media, who knows what it could turn out. Media can make or make you. Ask the likes of Ted Turner, ask the likes of what? Oprah Winfrey, ask the likes of Kelly Jenner. Well, she primarily known as a reality TV star, Kelly Jenner has actually leveraged her social media presence, particularly on Instagram, to promote her cosmetic brand, Kelly Cosmetics. Her influence is substantial, and she is one of the highest earning celebrities on social media. Talk about your guy, Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah, the famous footballer has one of the largest following on social media. He uses his influence to secure endorsement deals with numerous brands, earning a significant income from the sponsored posts. Yeah. Some of you are fans of Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian, like her sister Kelly, a reality TV star and social media influencer, she promotes her beauty, and fragrance products, and actually collaborates with brands for lucrative partnership. Yeah. Then you may look about people like there was one called PewDiePie, who does the Felix Kjellberg. He's a popular YouTuber. PewDiePie has millions of subscribers and has actually secured deals with various brands and advertisers. His influence on his audience is significant, and he's among the highest earning YouTubers. Think about that. You could argue in terms of what another one called Huda Kattan, known for her beauty and makeup content. Huda Kattan is a successful beauty influencer and entrepreneur. She has actually her makeup line, so Huda Beauty, and collaborates with various, beauty brands. You could also argue in terms of what they call Gary Vaynerchuk, who is a prominent social media guru and entrepreneur. Gary offers business advice and digital marketing insights. He has actually a successful media company, what they call Vayner Media, and earns income through public speaking engagements and even book sales. Yeah. And then another guy called Charia Ferrani. Charia Ferrani is an Italian fashion blogger and influencer, and has turned her blog, The Blonde Salad, into a global brand. So she collaborates with luxury fashion brands and has actually, fashion line. Yeah. Even musicians, I'll not mention some musicians' names, even here in Uganda, who are actually making. One was actually saying, listen, you are better singer, but it seems I'm a better blogger and I'm getting more money. Why is that so? So it tells you that people. And then others like Oprah Winfrey, I told you about. Although she initially gained fame through traditional media, Oprah has actually successfully, transitioned to social media using platforms like Instagram to promote her business and even endorsement. Yeah. So you could see that the future is so bright. Now it's a question of how you market your product and how receptive your audience can be. Dan Bilzerian is also known for his extravagant lifestyle and poker career. So Dan leverages social media to promote his brand, to ignite which sells various products, including CBD related items. So my point is that these influencers on social media, call them gurus, have diverse backgrounds and niches, but they share a common ability to connect with the audience, to influence large audiences. So their economic monetary power is significant, as they often earn substantial income from their online activities, including sponsored content, product endorsement, and monetization of their personal brands. So the argument I'm trying to say is that those of you who engage in social media, you are yet to know what you're dealing with. Everything that you say, how you say it, the aura that you exhibit, even as you engage, the audience that you attract, the people that listen to you, the people that subscribe to you are extremely, extremely important. Sometimes we feel so sick by the fact that maybe the audience where we're coming from, people tend to listen to comedians. Not that comedy is wrong, but sometimes people miss out on substantive things that end up building their career or even affecting them in a positive way. I'll give another example in terms of Ariana Huffington, who was the founder of the Huffington Post. Ariana Huffington is a media guru and author who uses her social media presence to promote her work and various wellness and lifestyle products. Yeah, there's another one called Neil Patel, a digital marketing guru, if you like, and entrepreneur. Neil Patel has actually leveraged his social media influence to offer what they call marketing services, courses, and even consulting, contributing to his economic success. We are yet to see that in our country. The major people we see in our country are people who engage in talks, blog talks, if you like, about politics, fights, in-fights and out-fights, and that's, we have not yet gotten into that professional branding of sorts. We are yet to see that. You could also talk about Nas Daily, or Niger Yassin. Nas Daily is also known for creating one of the minute video documentaries on social issues of global travel. He's built a significant following in terms of earned income through branded content and even merchandise sales. Yeah. Another fella is Kazi Neisat. Kazi Neisat is a renowned filmmaker and YouTube blogger. He has actually used his platform to secure partnership with tech and even lifestyle brands, monetizing his video content and influencing trends in what they call online video production. Yeah. So my point here is that those of you who do the so-called bloggings or YouTubes or whatever, even as you look at it, please look at it with some kind of serious content actualization, rather than things that would appeal to the ordinary laughter, to use that word loosely. Yeah. Dwayne, for example, has something we call the Rock Johnson. The actor and former professional wrestler has a massive following on social media, and he uses his platform to promote his movies and fitness products and even brand partnership. Yeah. So there are people here who you could celebrate as media social lights, if you like, in terms of social branding, in terms of social media, but they somehow they have misused the opportunities, and instead they have tended out to be looked at as laughing stocks, perhaps because in their engagements they became so emotional, or perhaps they ended up saying certain sweeping statements that may not augur well with the ordinary person. Whereas I will understand that people are subjective in terms of what they want to take in, but it's also important that you appeal to a certain audience, build your brand, and speak to them in a respectful way, and accept correction where it is necessary, because it will help you perhaps to create a better brand and a more successful career, if that's what you choose as a career. The world that we are living in today is really moving at a very fast rate, that we can no longer position ourselves by the degrees that we got, or the qualification that we got in terms of this or that. Now it's a question of position. The degree and the graduation is extremely important. The best it will do for you is to keep you on that level, but now the idea to discover your niche, is extremely important, because at that point, that's when you can be able to brand yourself and then follow what flows naturally, perhaps, and you can amaze yourself at how much money, or if that is a cause or influence or help that you can be able to give to the bigger world. We all know that television, for example, had its time of rule, even today perhaps, and some substantive televisions that have actually had a mark in terms of influence socially, the likes of in terms of information dissemination. There is no doubt that television has actually been a primary source in terms of news around the world, and has the capacity to provide real-time coverage, but also shaping public opinions and perceptions. Public opinions and perceptions. There are those who argue that even where things have gone off, say Rwanda, for example, it was because of radio influence. You remember the thing that happened, the bad events that happened in Rwanda, the genocide. So because of particular radios that were propounding certain ideologies to the detriment of others. Yeah, so you have to be very careful that these things have influence. They have the ability to change culture. They have the ability to monetize. They have the ability to infect people's minds. They have the ability to shape decisions. And even as you engage in them, you have to be very mindful again of what are the professional ethics, and that's what we argue. What are the legal guidelines, and that's what we argue in our book. Okay, in our book, when you look for our book, what educational values, for example. There's a musician whose name I'll not mention, who translated his organization to edutainment. Because his argument is that much as I'm entertaining people, but I'd like to educate people, in terms of giving value, which is extremely important. How many people are going to be remembered today, whether musicians or teachers, by virtue of the information that they have passed on to us, or leaders for that purpose? How much influence are they going to have on us? Are they going to live beyond today? Are the songs, for example, that we hear and celebrate going to live beyond today in terms of cause and effect? Or are these things that we simply jump up and down only to forget the next morning? So almost all these things, as I said, have a substantive effect on what we do, on how we do it. Whether it is global news, whether it is sports, whether it is invest, whether it is anything, it has a super impact in terms of the cause and effect on us. So even as we engage in this so-called argument of social media, we should be mindful, as I said, of those facets. And a good start would be, please take care to look at our book, Media Law and Policy, in terms of journalism in Uganda. Find it at lubogo.org or suigenerislawup.com. I remember a guy called Tentana, some of you may know him, one of the guys who started CNN. One of his greatest regrets, when they asked him what was your greatest regret, he said, one of my greatest regrets was to sell CNN. I think he sold it to what? To America Online, something like that. And then he used to celebrate and jubilate and say that I won the world, the Cold War between the former US, Soviet Union and the US, because of the propositions and the ideologies that were being propounded on CNN by then. Yeah, CNN has a lot of influence in terms of politics, in terms of America, but also Fox News, Al Jazeera, for example, then ESPN, Entertainment and Sports Programming Network, which is another dominant in terms of sports. So these power bodies cannot just be underestimated. And now they even have them on phones, on your apps, on your phone, where you can actually engage on phone and interact with them. So breaking news and apps and stuff like that, and they move, as I said, much faster than the traditional older news that we used to have. Rarely now we're moving away from that traditional way where people may have to walk into a shop and buy a hard copy of a newspaper, or perhaps even tune in terms of a live broadcast, because everything now is happening on our phones. You are instantly here, and you know what's happening almost in any part of the world because of social media, as I said. So we cannot underestimate the power of social media, and that's the reason why that you guys who engage in social media, even as you do engage in social media, please be mindful of the laws that govern these kind of organizations, if you like. Because the moment you lose that, then you're going to find yourself in trouble. And these are the arguments that we argue, we make the propositions that we make in terms of the laws, in terms of being careful not to offend another person's right. Although we are aware that you may have those substantive protections, but they are not what? They are not absolute. Yeah, they are not absolute. When you look at the Constitution, perhaps, beginning from Article 42, 43, 44, in terms of those rights, are not absolute. So you have to understand that the freedom of expression is not absolute. It should be reconciled within the premises of the law. So as you engage, you should be careful not to cause libel and slander, or even offensive communication that may have substantive effects, on other people's privacy or other people's rights, if you like. So it's important that legal concerns that relate to social media are crucial in terms of individuals, in terms of organizations. So you should be aware that there are various issues that you should be mindful when you're using social media, and use social media responsibly. I will give some legal concerns that people have to look out for when they're engaging in social media, in terms of being aware. One of them is privacy and data protection. When you're dealing with it, be careful of data privacy laws. Social media platforms collect and use or even store data, so often subject to data privacy regulations. For example, a European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, what they call the GDPR, or even in America it's called the CPA. Yeah, and then be careful with things that have to do with defamation and libel. Yeah, in terms of false statements, for example, posting false, damaging, or even defamatory statements about individuals or businesses on social media can lead to legal actions for libel. So it's important to be cautious about the accuracy of the information that you are sharing. Yeah, and then aspects to do with copyright and intellectual property. Another important aspect in terms of content sharing. Users should actually respect copyright laws when sharing content such as images or even videos and written materials. Unauthorized use could lead to copyright infringement claims. That's another aspect that you need to be careful when you're engaging in this guy called social media. Then be careful of cyberbullying and harassment. Online harassment, cyberbullying harassment, or threats made on social media can have legal consequences, leading to restraining orders or even harassment charges, and even criminal penalties. I see it happen here in our country. People make loose statements. Senior journalists, by the way, which is a shame. In terms of also employment and workplace issues, workplace policies, for example, employers often have social media policies in place that govern employees' online behavior. So posting confidential company information, disparaging remarks about one employer can lead to disciplinary actions or even job termination. And then contract violations, for example, terms of service. I see people here to the extent that they say, let me bring out my contract, let me show you this. Users should be aware to comply with the terms of service and community guidelines on social media platforms. So violating these terms can result into even in suspension and removal. And that's why people don't comprehend this. You want to make a point and proving yourself online. Be careful. There's also online scams and fraud, what they call phishing and scams. Users should be cautious on what they call online scams, phishing attempts, and fraudulent schemes on social media. Falling victim of scams can lead to financial losses and even legal complications. Yeah. And then you should be careful what they call online child safety in terms of child protection laws. Sharing images or information about children on social media should actually be done with care. It may conflict with child protection laws. Parents or even guardians should actually be mindful of privacy and even safety concerns. These are things that are greatly lacking that I see in our social media today. Hate speech and discrimination. Hate speech laws. Yeah, hate speech and discrimination content can lead to legal consequences, particularly where there is strict law against such speech, including Uganda, by the way. And then revenge porn. It was very popular in our countries. Non-consensual sharing, for example, sharing intimate images without the consent of individuals involved can lead to criminal charges and even lawsuits in many jurisdictions. Please be careful about that. And then impersonation and identity theft is another thing. False personation, creating fake profiles by impersonating others on social media can result in identity theft and even legal actions, including fraud and even defamation claims. Yeah, and then you could also look at things that have to do with regulatory compliance in terms of advertising regulations. If individuals or businesses engage in paid promotions or advertising on social media, they should comply with advertising regulations, including disclosure and transparency requirements. So, my friends, please look out for some of those things, and even things like geolocation and location privacy. Sharing location. Users should be cautious about sharing their location. It can actually have privacy and even security implications, including potential stalking or even burglary for that purpose. So even as you engage in some of these things, be careful. Then another aspect is what they call content moderation and censorship. In terms of moderation policies, social media platforms have their own content moderation policies, and users should be aware of these guidelines and potential consequences for violating them. Yeah, these are super important things that you cannot take for granted. And be careful of whatever jurisdiction you're engaging in. You so-called bloggers and the likes, you be careful of international laws. Users should be aware of the legal jurisdiction governing their social media activities, as laws may differ between the different countries, affecting what is permissible or what is actually prohibited. So once again, my friends, My name is Isaac Christopher Lubogo. Find our works at lubogo.org and suigeneris.app.com. God bless you and thank you for your attention. Let me take leave for now. Thank you.